Welcome to a Saturday night at the Magic House, where the magic is always Jesus. This is my friend Anthony,
Hello.
my videographer,
Yeah.
my photographer friend, and he can be controversial at times.
Usually.
We're just here on a Saturday night, just going to chop it up a little bit. For those of you younger kids, that means we're going to, mince a few words together. Give you a few thoughts about what's going on in this world today. What kind of things are on your mind nowadays, Anthony?
Well, before you start recording, we were talking a little bit about politics and talking about like the COVID weird things going on, stuff like that, which nobody can stop talking about these days. It's the only thing we got on TV. But yeah, we were talking about politics and how weird things have been and differences between. Life.
Politics is a trippy thing. I was reading something on my Facebook today about a Pastor Skip, a Calvary Chapel pastor with thousands of members in his church, and he's talking about how he's at the White House lawn having a good time watching the presidential party that they have for 3 or 4 days, where Trump accepts being the nomination to be the next president. And so many people were commenting on his post about, man, we're proud of you, Pastor Skip. So glad you're there representing us. And then some people are going, why would you go for that Trump guy, man? And whoever responds back on his post put, well, are you against or for abortion? Because people think it that if you're for Trump, you're against abortion.
Right.
And if you're a Democrat, you got to be pro-abortion. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I have some Democrat friends. Maybe I need to question them about their stance on that. What do you think?
I think that we as human beings, we want to find our tribe, right? We talk about it pretty often. It's like when you find who you are, and you usually find it in the group that you hang out with. And I think that what we've done, at least as a country, especially in politics, is we've created your only options. Would you rather have a crap sandwich or a pea lemonade, And you have to choose between the two instead of saying is there an option C, or is there literally anything else? But what happens is that when people pick the team, they say, well, these are my people now, therefore I have to kind of soak in whatever it is our people are talking about or what we represent. So that's why I think when it comes to that place for, just like you're saying, somebody says, I don't like Trump, it's oh, that must mean you love abortion. I don't think that's specifically what that means, It's a whole entire thing where it's so many, it's more complicated than just being able to say, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. Even if you were to say something whether you support Trump or not, it's that means that you're a Republican, right? And half the time that doesn't even mean that either. People have made it a lot more complicated than I think it needs to be, or maybe too simple. I don't know, something along those lines.
I'm just your regular guy.
Yeah.
Maybe some people don't think I'm just a regular guy, but I'm just a regular guy. And when it comes to politics, I know there's a fellow running named Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And a guy named Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I never did watch The Apprentice much. I watched a little bit, but I thought his daughter Ivanka was cool, and I liked it when they had Dennis Rodman on there and a few characters like that. But I knew that Trump had hotels all over and he was a billionaire, and then I started watching the news, and then I found out he was a womanizer. I found out he was a sinner. My gosh, but being a Christian man, being a pastor, a doctor of theology, being well-rounded, I believe, living on this earth many decades, I realized that my job was to pray for this man, not to judge this man. At least that's what my Bible says. How about your Bible?
My Bible says the same thing. I'm not entirely sure if I do that very well, but it definitely says the same thing. I've been pretty honest about the fact that I don't like Trump. I think before I was very much trying to tie it up with the politics of him, but I think by this point I've just realized that has nothing to do with politics. I just don't like him.
Yeah, I think there's some of us just, we do have the freedom of choice, and I mean, his hairdo gets me, but that's no reason to put a guy down or anything, the whole thing about the Magic House, when people come on this property, it's to build people up. It doesn't mean we're perfect about it, but it means I try to make sure everybody goes home encouraged, everybody goes home fed if they're hungry, or a drink if they're thirsty, some loving if they need some love. And so because man, I'm a Jesus style person. When I hear people talk about our president, I mean, I grew up doing the Pledge of Allegiance and the old Star Spangled Banner, those songs and stuff like that. And proud to be an American because I know we're free and all that kind of stuff. So, man, this whole politics thing, it's kind of trippy,
Yeah.
I never was one. I don't have a sign in my front lawn for a certain mayor or anybody like that. But, man, we're living in some difficult times, And think about the racism thing, man. What do you think about that going on?
It gets pretty heavy. We get a lot of people talking about racism, and I think that it's a conversation that needs to happen for sure. But to the point where it's the same thing. The Democrat, Republican, pick a side kind of thing. And if you don't have, if you have one opinion that lines up too close to over here, then you're completely this over that, or you're completely a racist if you don't understand something. And I couldn't have understand that not everybody's racist. A lot of people are just dumb. And it isn't, or ignorant, and it's in so many different ways. It's like to be able to just point somebody out and say, "Oh, that must mean that you're racist, or that you hate black people, or hate white people, or hate Mexicans, whatever." I think that that's ignorant to assume that just because somebody doesn't understand where you're coming from as a certain race or a certain side of the world means that you're a racist, that you hate people. And I don't think that's necessarily true. Well, we're not really sitting down having these conversations. Instead, we're picking sides quickly.
Yeah.
And so there's people that are just attacking somebody because they don't agree with them, and the person that feels attacked is going to attack back. Whether they understand what they're attacking them for or not, the natural reaction for most people is not to sit there and say, okay, well, I'm sorry, let's talk about that. The natural reaction is to bite when gotten bitten. And so I think that's a lot of the racism today seems to be a lot about that. Because we're not going to sit here and pretend that nothing has been changing throughout the years. Of course things have been changing. It's not perfect. We need it to be perfect as best we can, and we need to get as far along as we possibly can get it, as fast as we'd like to get it. But by the end of the day, it's going to take a lot more sitting down and talking and really trying to figure out what's going on rather than just beating each other up until somebody wins. And so I don't know.
Yeah, it's I'm not saying it's hopeless because I'm a hope dealer.
Yeah, right.
And I do believe that Jesus is the answer, but not everybody's going to believe in Jesus. Not everybody's going to follow the Word of God. And I'm not going to be down on everybody that's not there yet, because at one time, I didn't buy the Bible. I didn't buy into the God thing. I didn't buy into forgiveness. So there's hope for everything. Nothing's impossible with God. And here is kind of like I listened to our president, the nominee for being president, Joe Biden over here, and calling each other names. Ain't that kind of childish?
Childish, yeah.
I mean, isn't that kind of foolish? I mean, and if you wear a red hat, you must be a bad guy, and if you don't wear a hat, then you're a good guy or something like that. I mean, it's like gang activity. It's like the Blood and the Crips, It's like in California, like the Southsiders and the Northsiders, I mean, my team against your team. I mean, all that kind of stuff. If all of us could just come together and agreeably disagree at least. I mean, this looting going on, this craziness, maybe a lot of it has to do with the anxiety going on from everybody not going to school or not being able to go to work, that type of thing like that. But God tells us in the book of Isaiah, come, let us reason together. And I think that's an important part when people are willing. I found this out. When I hear somebody's backstory about their life, today I spent time with some fellows and I asked questions. So where are you from? Tell me about yourself. And the more I get to know about people, about their story, about their back life, man, the more love and compassion and empathy I have for them and want to be their friend and help out in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Don't you notice that when you get to know somebody?
Yeah, and you can see that not only on an individual basis, but even like on a big group basis. I know a lot of people who've started doing some studying, saying just an example of the black community of what they've been through in the American history, and being able to just do a little bit of studying and finding out oh, okay, I can have more compassion towards a group of people or somebody if I know at least what's going on, what's the pain going through. And that's not just specifically to the black community, that's every community. And as long as we take the time, like you're saying, to really try to figure out what is it that you're saying, what is it that you're feeling. If I take the time to do that, then I might be able to at least share some of that emotion. And the Bible talks about that a lot, to be able to share emotion with people and be able to grieve with the brother and to be able to be happy with the brother and to find those moments. And so the more and more that we kind of create the divide and say, sorry, I don't know what you're feeling, and we're not sharing the same thing, therefore I cannot feel with you, I think that creates more and more and more of a divide. And that's going to be in all kinds of different types of ways, I think.
Wow, like it says, all the racial unrest, the financial things. I mean, good people, their businesses going down the tube. Good people without jobs. I mean, people feeding their family. One of my sons feeds hundreds of people every week, groceries and doing things and stuff. There's people really hurting, but yet there's people arguing and fighting, because when people get frustrated, that happens. So, everybody's got to find a way to get some peace and to get some encouragement, to get some joy in their life. I mean, hey, I'm enjoying the ride. Let's say sports. Some of you sports fans might not like this, but hey, if they never played another basketball game on TV, I'd be all right.
I live.
If the NFL, I think it's called the NFL, if they never played another game, and don't get mad at me, I'm just not that big a sports fan. I usually tune into the Super Bowl and watch the halftime show. So I'm that bad guy. So all these sports, and all of a sudden everybody's an expert on how to solve this company. I'm going to tell you, I'm a sinner saved by the grace of God. I love Jesus, but I have enough work just to keep my wife and family in check. You know what I mean? But what do you think? Anything you miss with all this pandemic and stuff going on?
I used to be a movie guy, but then slowly they're getting me hooked on just watching it at home, And so I don't know. There's a few things I'd like to go out and do, but I'm more of a homebody anyway. Photographer as I am. That's probably one of the main things. Is like, as everybody else is like struggling with work, people are scared to go out and take some pictures with me, so I don't get to take as many pictures. But there's still some brave souls out there that would rather take some pictures and video and stuff.
Man, if you wonder how come I'm so close to Anthony, it's because I wash my hands like a surgeon now. I eat my vitamins. I get into my sun. What do I get? Vitamin D from the sun?
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D. I got plenty of vitamin D, as you can see by my color, But I believe that Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
I believe brown lives matter. Yeah. I believe blue lives. The cops have messed with me in my life. I have been burnt by a lot of police officers. I have, had my own house raided. I've been locked up, and when they shouldn't have done it, But I still love the office, man. I'm glad we got police, take care of people, help people like that, man. I'm loving all that kind of stuff, man. I think it's wrong, man, to pick on the police. That's not the right thing to do. We got to love everybody when Jesus says it. When you're a Christian, you don't got the vote or the choice. I'm just going to love these people, man. I'm loving on everybody. And I'm just saying, like Rodney King said back in the day, why can't we just all get along?
Right.
The only gift that never ever fails is love. Right. And that love only comes from above. So what final words you got to say, Anthony, to our beautiful world?
I think that you kind of like put a good bow on it. I think that like whether we're talking about politics or racism or the COVID thing or whatever, the thing that's going to tie us all together, not just as Americans, but as the world, especially as brothers and Christians, is going to be love, to be able to continue to love. And although I have a hard time loving Donald Trump, it becomes that thing where it becomes a practice where I have to be able to show love equally, and I don't get to choose exactly what it is that I show love towards. But that's something that I think we all need a little bit more of and always have.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when I talk about forgiveness with people, everybody's been hurt by somebody. I tell them, well, listen, the Bible says we need to choose to forgive somebody, and when we forgive somebody, we get freedom out of it. And that doesn't mean you have to take them out for dinner. But what I found out is after I've forgiven somebody and I start loving them and Jesus fills me up with more love for them, then I want to take them out for dinner. And then after a little more maturity in my life, then I want to pay for their dinner. So there's maturity and growth and everything. So if you're doing the Jesus style, if I'm doing the Jesus style, if we're all doing the Jesus style, after they beat him down beyond recognition, he's still up on that cross. He says, Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they're doing. And that's how a whole lot of this is, man. Don't get yourself too caught up. Don't get too crazy about what's going on in all these arguments, because I don't know, they just act like my little grandkids fighting in the pool, right. Arguing about whose toys are theirs, and they pick, all this blame shift and everything like that. I love them all. I know that might sound like I'm a compromising, jellyfish, spineless human being, but you know what? Hey, I feel good. I'm high on Jesus.
That's right.
Anthony,
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great too.
All right. Love you.